morning. Welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is Friday, September 6, 2013. Beginning on Monday, we'll be broadcasting from Monte Carlo in the south of France at the annual Reinsurance Rendezvous Conference, so that should be interesting. This is a busy news day. The European Parliament just announced that they're pushing back the vote for Solvency II from October of this year until February of next year. The long-delayed project continues to be delayed, so there's no uniformity amongst European regulators as to how to regulate the finances of banks, insurers, and reinsurers. It continues. President Obama is speaking right now at a press conference in St. Petersburg in Russia. The G20 summit has failed to reach any conclusion on unanimous action regarding the use of chemical weapons in Syria. President Putin of Russia has dispatched 2 warships to the Mediterranean. President Obama is going to speak to the American public on Tuesday night in a nationally televised address in which he's going to make his case for use of force in Syria. David Martin, a very well-respected correspondent for CBS News, is reporting that the Pentagon has expanded its list of potential targets for an American military strike in Syria. This is based on intelligence indicating that President Assad has moved around equipment used to deploy chemical weapons in anticipation of a potential attack. Apparently, according to Martin, the equipment has been dispersed relatively widely throughout the country, which may then mean that in addition to cruise missiles, bombing from fixed-wing aircraft is going to have to take place. The bombing coming from jets based on aircraft carriers is not a problem, but once bombing occurs, you need aerial refueling and you need search and rescue mission capability in case a plane is shot down. The State Department also ordered non-essential American diplomats out of Beirut. That's as of today. Beirut, of course, is the capital of Lebanon, which is the country that borders Syria. So the situation continues to ramp up in the Middle East. The price of oil continues to spike, creep up. As we noted yesterday, the Chinese warned of an economic catastrophe in the event of military action in Syria because the price of oil would really spike. Meanwhile, John Nelson, the chairman of Lloyd's, who actually is a banker, warned in a speech yesterday that the flood of investment capital into structures linked to insurance could lead to instability and spark a new financial crisis if left unsupervised. I hope the European Union is hearing that, as they've just now, as I mentioned, voted to delay the vote on Solvency II. Mr. Nelson said that the insurance industry must avoid capital being detached from risk, a mistake which he said caused the banking industry systemic problems in 2007. He's quite correct. Mortgage-backed securities in the banking industry kept being traded downstream, so that eventually the owners of the instruments had no idea of the mortgages that were being backed by the paper they owned. Nelson said, "We must make sure that the capital remains properly attached to the underlying transaction so that the risk is properly assessed, properly priced, and properly supervised." South Korea announced today that it's going to stop fish imports from fish originating along Japan's northeastern coast because of the radioactive water leaking into the Pacific Ocean coming from the crippled Daiichi Fukushima nuclear power plant. We've been following that story for a while now. There's some 400 metric tons of water contaminated by radioactivity that's leaking into the Pacific Ocean every day. The Reinsurance Association of Americas, which has 18 members, big property and casualty reinsurers, announced that their members had posted a 32% profit increase for the first 6 months of 2013. They've shown a profit of $4.75 billion in net income compared to about $3.6 billion for the same period last year. Meanwhile, in advance of the Monte Carlo talks next week, there's considerable discussion that reinsurers are going to fail to increase premiums that they charge primary carriers. According to Amr Ahmad, the chief executive officer of Allianz Re, "I expect the market to stay flat to tick down on the absolute premium. He said, I expect there's going to be slippage in terms and conditions. The reinsurance rendezvous held in Monte Carlo is the first indication between buyers, brokers, and reinsurers of what the prices are going to be, which are typically set for the January 1st renewals. The expectation is that same flood of capital that Mr. Nelson of Lloyd's warned about is going to continue to flatten out reinsurance prices. The price of memory chips for mobile phones and computers has soared by 19% over the past 10 days following a fire at a factory in China belonging to Apple supplier SK Hynix. The world's second largest chip maker after Samsung, Hynix supplies a third of the dynamic random access memory chips sold globally. The cost of the benchmark DDR 2 gigabyte chip jumped 30 cents up to $1.90 on Thursday, the biggest increase since September of 2010. The fire on September 4th occurred during installation of equipment at a factory in a clean room, which the industry expert said could take 6 months to fully repair. The connectivity of all things once again being demonstrated. That's the news for today. We'll talk to you Monday from Monte Carlo. Thank you for watching and have a good weekend.